agenda? Okay, we're good. We need approval of the minutes from May the 9th.
Before we go into that, Rick, you do technically need to have a motion to approve that you're planning to do an electronic meeting. That's the first thing in bold right here on the agenda. That was something we missed last time that the Office of the Attorney General wants to make sure we do.
I make a motion that we have a electronic meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Okay. Opposed, like sign?
Oh, we do. Hey, Rick, do we have to do this by name?
Yeah, you have to do a roll call vote.
I got to do it all by names. Thank you, Wendy.
You
Well,
will.
All right. That means I'm going to have to write this down. Okay. Otis.
Aye.
Okay. Wendy
Aye.
and DeBose
Aye.
and Bobby.
Aye.
And who else have we got?
You've got Darren's on too.
Yeah.
Darren. Okay, Darren. Thank you. Darren.
Aye.
All right. Is that everybody?
You've got 6.
Okay,
You're good to go.
Okay, that's great. Thank you all. Now, let's go ahead with the minutes from the May 19th meeting.
I make a motion that the May 19th meeting minutes be approved as distributed.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. I wondered if I could speed this up by saying anybody objects, say your name. Whoa, that's a nice line.
Oh, that is nice. I like that. No.
That's not the agenda.
As we've looked at a long time.
Hey, well, hearing no negatives, we'll call it
There he
approved. Hey, look at that. Look at everybody. Looks like a rose garden.
Was the agenda supposed to go away?
No, I hope not.
I don't see it anymore.
No, we wanted to look at Rick and whoever's talking. No.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. I know
there's
the next
another way
item
to-
on the-
There's another way to do it. There's a vertical bar next to, on the right-hand side of the agenda that you can slide
Yeah.
over and see all 16.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's 2 vertical lines about a 3/8 inch long. Just grab that and slide it to the left. Of course,
Well, you
your
know
agenda
what?
becomes a little smaller.
Yeah. All right. I'm fine with what it is on mine. Okay, the treasurer's report for May the 31st is next.
You need to ask,
Okay.
did you ask for anybody objecting
Oh, we're
to the
generally
minutes?
right on target. I really have nothing to add to this. So I would make a motion that we approve it for audit for the month ending May 31st.
I'll second that.
Okay. Do y'all want me to do a voice vote or say if anybody opposes this motion, give your name? And then otherwise we'll say everybody else is for it.
Rick,
That's
you
fine with me.
technically do have to do a
Roll
roll
call.
call
Oh, this is
vote.
cool.
Unfortunately.
I'm gonna put my mask on. All right, here we go. Otis,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
DeBose,
Aye.
Bobby,
Aye.
Darren. Okay. We call it approved. The budget item.
And actually, so the budget versus actual, I don't have a copy of that. So I don't know if Kathy wants to speak to that. And of course, we have to get things all copacetic by the end of the month for the end of the year. So,
I neglected to put that report in with the packets, but I can send it to everybody after the fact since it doesn't need to be voted on.
right. So, but generally are we, I mean, I'm thinking we should be fine.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Ta-da.
Right. Okay. If there are any other comments about that, Kathy will get it to all of us and make sure we have input to Wendy before the end of the month. Okay. Agency reports. Who have we got besides Bobby that's here?
Got Mark.
Mark
Mark's
is
on?
on, yes.
Mark
And
is
then
on.
Leslie is on as well.
All right, Mark, the virtual field is yours.
All right. Can people hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. You should all have a copy of my written report. Look at there. There it is.
Woo-hoo.
I'm not going to read through it. If you've got any questions about items there, do let me know either now or later by email or phone. Needless to say, with the state board having concluded its June 3 meeting, the floodgates have opened in regards to the upcoming fiscal year. Policies and grant agreements have been distributed. The manual, the cost share manual for program year 21 has been approved, and a link is available, has been made available to your staff. And there will only be one written copy of the cost share manual provided per district due to the state's budget constraints. Let's see, I have distributed or I think maybe it was Blair Gordon who sent out the fiscal year 21 desktop guide or desktop procedures for fiscal operations. That was approved by the state board, and the intent is not to redo that this coming year, but hope that it will withstand the test of time of at least 2 years. At any rate, that's out. I have been communicating with your staff in regards to end of year reporting, managing carryover. I've sent a self-assessment questionnaire that I hope will help me accurately and completely do my grant assessments later this summer. Probably will report that to the district at its August meeting. So, oh, and one other thing too, I've communicated with your technical staff in regards to annual spot checks. We do need to get them completed, and that's got to be done before the end of October, or put it another way, at least by 1st of November. And there are 8 to do, and with COVID restrictions as they are right now, that's just going to be me and one of your staffers, unless people want a caravan. I'll work out the details with your staff. That is a very important task that must be done. And I hope the restrictions will ease a little bit and we don't have any rebound on COVID this fall. But we'll see. Later on in your agenda, I see you'll be discussing the grant agreements. And so if there are any questions about those, we can handle it at that time. Rick, there are some changes to the grant agreements. Everything changes, nothing stays the same, but changes are not earth-shattering, and I'd be glad to review them with you now in this format if you wish, but that's your decision. It is important that every director read each of those documents thoroughly. And I think that's it. There was, your staff participated in a VAX update training last week. There will be webinar training on changes to the tracking program module and to conservation planning module. Again, every year there are tweaks, and so that gets reflected in how your staff accounts for things in the computer. The Technical Advisory Committee is set back a little bit due to COVID and meeting restrictions. It's very awkward to meet in such a venue as we are using today and have free-flowing conversation and discussion. And so I'm a little bit uncertain how we are to proceed, but proceed we will in one way or another. The July Technical Advisory Committee meeting will probably be postponed, but we'll see. We'll see. The Stream Protection and Forestry Committee has a task assigned to it by the General Assembly to create the temporary fencing, portable fencing, call it what you will, practice for the upcoming manual that starts next summer. So we have got to figure that one out. We'll struggle through. This COVID thing has thrown us all for a loop. We'll do the best we can. Thank you, Rick.
Amen. Thank you, Mark. Any questions or comments to Mark? Okay. Keep us as straight as you can. The best thing I can tell you, Mark.
All right, we'll try.
All righty. Mr. Drumheller, you're up.
NRCS has been finishing up the EQIP program, developing contracts for people that were pre-approved, and so we're at the tail end of that, and so that's kind of what we've been working on. That's about all I can report at this point.
Okay. Any questions or comments to Bobby? All right. Matt is not present, correct?
Matt is not here.
Okay. I get weekly reports from him. He's busy, but we appreciate his work. Patty, Mary, Les, we don't have anybody from Planning Commission.
Leslie is on, yes.
Oh, Leslie, would you like to brief us on something?
Sure. So I just have one quick update. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So tomorrow, the 17th at 5 p.m., the Board of Supervisors will be having a work session on utility scale solar. And I know I had updated you in the past about, a utility scale solar committee that was appointed. They had 3 meetings and wrapped up, I guess, at the beginning of this year, February now. It seems like a long time ago. Wrapped up in February, and really what came out of that utility scale solar committee was not as much a concrete list of recommendations, but more of a kind of an elongated report of, detailed minutes from those meetings, and then also some of the issues that committee grappled with related to location and siting design guidelines for utility scale solar projects. Just kind of as an update, staff continues, even despite COVID, to field a lot of questions from utility scale solar companies that have significant interest in locating in the county. So we foresee those projects, additional projects coming through, and the board has been clear that they want to have some really detailed guidelines within the comprehensive plan. And then also at that work session tomorrow, we'll be discussing some potential ordinance changes related to the utility scale solar ordinance. So that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any. And again, that meeting's tomorrow at 5 p.m. It will be in the Board of Supervisors meeting room. The board's meetings are open to the public now. We have some, social distancing guidelines within the board meeting room, and ask that everyone wear a face covering when they're here at the meetings, but they are open to the public.
Leslie, this is DeBose Eggleston. There's a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting at 1:30, and Bill Halsrath has asked for a waiver on the floodplain ordinance. Are you going to be attending that meeting?
I will not be attending, but I believe the county engineer, Doug Wolf, who's been involved in that request, said that he will be available to be at that meeting if needed for questions. He reviewed it as kind of our floodplain development manager, so he's the one that really would be able to field those questions.
And what was his opinion of it?
I've only talked to him briefly about it. I know they worked through, you know, some elevation requirements or some things that would be needed to make sure that the structure was essentially, you know, safe within that floodplain waiver. And I guess his feeling is that based on what they're proposing to do with the development, that he has no concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Talk to Nancy Sorrells about that. She's going to try to attend that meeting. She had some concerns. You know, she's the secondary observer at the Lofton Dam. We sent a letter to the board back in March outlining our concerns about this zoning request and listed a couple of conditions that we would require if the zoning board decided to approve it. So she was okay with that.
And if you go to the
I was just going to say,
yes.
Leslie, is there a minimum acreage in the solar scale that makes it a utility scale?
So that's a tricky question. You know, we've seen projects throughout Virginia that range in size. So we've seen, you know, 200 megawatt projects, you know, anywhere from 80 acres, anywhere from 80 acres to maybe up to a 200 acre size range. In some areas of Virginia, we have seen the larger 125, 150 megawatt projects. You know, the one that we received and was denied in the Stewart's Draft area was a 125 megawatt project. And then in Spotsylvania County, we've seen, you know, a 500 megawatt project, roughly 6,000 total project acres. So our ordinance sets it at a half acre. And really, we've come to realize that's not really accurate. You know, a lot of these acreage sizes are based off of kind of state code legislation. So there is some, you know, with this latest General Assembly session, there was some changes, a solar freedom bill and some other things where we would likely see maybe, you know, 1 to 3 megawatt projects, and kind of a rough rule of thumb is a megawatt is about 10 acres. So like a 10 to 30 acre project, you know, those would be more net metering type projects, is my understanding, you know, more freedom with those net metering projects so they could use what they needed and then be able to sell some back. We would kind of be looking at, or what we're kind of trying to propose is maybe a 50 acre is when things, you know, switch to this utility scale solar. Not that the under 50 acre ones don't need any type of review and approval, they still would, but just a different kind of level of review and approval than, you know, maybe your 50 acres and above would see. So I hope that answers your question. But yes, there's ranges of sizes.
Thank you, Leslie.
Leslie, what is the size of the one in Louisiana County they're advertising for workers on the radio? Do you know?
I would have to check that one. I know that Louisiana County has maybe had a couple, and I would have to check that specific one, but for some reason, like 200 acres is coming to mind. I don't remember that being one that was as big as some of the others we've seen, but I'd have to check.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we all done with Leslie? Thank you for coming in, so to speak, Leslie. Excuse me.
Of course.
All right. I came in. Let's see. Anybody else here from the agency partners? We got a written statement from DEQ. I don't think anybody else is attending. So
No.
we're ready to go to Otis in the dams. You got to turn your mic on, Otis.
Yep, just realized
Thank
that. Thank you. The Hearthstone rehab, we had the final walkthrough about the 20th of last month. There's some real minor stuff that needs to be taken care of, but basically we're finished with it. The annual dam mowing is going to start next month. And the Inch Branch mid-level gate project, is the dam guy on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you bring us up to date on that?
Well, we had the site showing last week, and we had 5 contractors come out. The bids need to be in by July 17th at 1 p.m. So that is moving forward, and hopefully we'll have that completed by the last of October.
Oh.
And then we're going to be spraying dams July 6th. Mowing's going to take place July 20th. And then DCR did approve the field plan for Hearthstone. So I talked to Jim Howdy Shell, and we're going to try to get that gate closed probably next week. Hopefully I can start going out. The state wants me to take measurements as it fills up. So I just have to coordinate with Jim and get that taken care of. But that's all I have for dams.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michael.
Yep.
And that's all we have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any questions or comments for Michael or Otis? All right. Wendy, Finance and Legislative.
I have nothing to say. I'm just kidding. Forgot. All right. So we have, of course, the end of June is the end of this year. We have the budget. John, Kathy, and I had sat down and met. And that, of course, is, I believe, was that in the packets, Kathy, that was sent out other than what we're seeing right here?
I believe it was, yes.
Okay, because I end up printing out things, plus I get the packet, and then I don't know what came from where, etc.
Some of us didn't receive the packet. I think we've got mail problems up here. I know Kathy sent the thing out, last Wednesday. I'm still waiting on mine.
Yeah, mine came later, a little later than normal, but so this is what we're proposing for the budget. Base operations dictated by the grants, the grant agreements. The technical assistance is based on that too. We have bumped up a little bit above the base for a variety of reasons, but we're still below the total of 291,325, so it gives us some leeway. And Kathy or Mark, if I misspeak, please correct me. A lot of things we left kind of level. The mobile education unit, we did not put anything in there as far as funds coming in, because who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? If we end up being able to glean something from that, great, that'll be lovely. Local income, what we've put in there is what is from. It's steady. We did, as far as increases, we're hoping that's going to be the case with the local economy right now. Who knows? Again, hopefully we won't see less. And again, the category of underground classroom rentals here is zero, because we just don't know. So that's what we have as far as those things. Then we go to expenses. Let me go to my notes. These pretty much are across the board. How there's nothing unusual. Let's just put it that way. Things are kind of how we've had them in the past. We had originally talked about a needs-based scholarship with the academic scholarship that we give, but we took that out because again, we don't know if we have, if we're looking good and we can put funds out for something need-based. In addition, we were originally looking at about $500 for that. Good, but right now we're gonna, you know, where we can be conservative, we will. The dam grant expenses, that's as far as the funds coming in for that from the grant, the state grant. I think that's everything generally. There was in there backup to disinfecting supplies. You'll just note, because we don't know, we don't know what we're going to need, so we put some funds in there. So what else? Okay, next page. So we've got the general subtotal as far as for compensation packages. We did not lay out the specific numbers. We have, I would like, if for those that don't know, you might notice, Kathy, we got an additional month before retirement. I wish that was like 2 months before retirement, but unless we can wrangle her back in, even an extra week I would love. But Josh has accepted a position with one of our competitors up the road, Shenandoah Valley, Soil and Water Conservation District. So he's looking at shifting in July. So we've got that. So we've got a little, so you see the 2 new hires, one's for Kathy, one will be essentially for Josh's position. But within that, we've got the compensation package. We're still just, you know, putting out there is the $460,743. And that will need some tweaking, of course, as we know what we're going to have, et cetera. It includes a 3% retention increase for the staff. And then we have not finished the employee evaluations. Once we do, there'll be some merit increase also. So that's those expenses. Then we have the regular support as far as vehicles and other things. And of course the watershed. So it comes out neatly to 0. That's great.
Yeah.
Income versus expenses. Woo! So this year is a little bit more difficult to plan for, just because we just don't know what things are going to look like and how they're going to unfold. And hopefully it won't get worse, but you know, the fall and the winter months, there's a chance that things could get ugly again. Hopefully they won't, to where we are limited. So we're trying to generally keep expenses down as much as we can. So
I have one question for Wendy. Wendy, have we taken over the office that somebody was going to give us?
yeah, John's, I believe that has been finished.
Okay.
For a while, it was being used almost as safe ground. But yeah, that's John's area. So
Okay. I haven't been up there, so I didn't know whether we had taken that over or not.
I haven't actually gone in to look at it, because of course things are now to where, you know, have been to where we can't
Sure.
go in there. But so
we do occupy it.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? You know, and again, with this, we may need to, you know, with losing Josh, we may need to look at, do we have an issue with retention? Do we, you know, and we may want to tweak, and depend on when we can get someone hired in, et cetera. But the thing is, if at that point in time we need to revisit the budget, assuming we can make amendment to the budget, et cetera. But so at this point, I'd like to move that we approve the budget for fiscal year 2021 as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, good. We ready to vote? All right, Otis,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
DeBose,
Aye.
Bobby,
Aye.
and Darren.
Aye.
Okay, we'll approve the motion as presented. Thank you, Wendy.
Okay,
Let's go back
Move
to
on.
the agenda. Yeah, see what else you got, girl.
okay, so then we have our usual annual review of the purchasing and credit card policies. There's really no changes to those that have been proposed from 2019. So I would like to make a motion that we approve the purchasing policy and the credit card policy as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, Otis,
Aye.
you're voting in favor of. Wendy,
Yes.
DeBose,
Aye.
Bobby,
Aye.
and Darren.
Aye.
All right, we'll approve that.
Kathy,
Yes,
I did not get a copy of that. Could you send me a copy with anything else that you're going to send out?
sure.
Thank you.
Okay, next, the desktop guide, review of it. I think there's 66 pages or more of, so I glanced through it, but what I mainly went to was the sort of the summary of the updates to it that was also presented. There's nothing in there that I saw as far as anything that was unusual. They did say on page 8, the sales and use tax exemption for soil and water conservation district purchases. It's a new section and provides guidance as far as sales tax exemptions on all purchases. Yeah. And so that all the summary says all the districts will get tax exemption for all stores that are frequent more than 3 times in a fiscal year, or where anyone purchases $100 or greater. Most of the other items seem to be clarification, and that's kind of all that I saw. So, of course, this has already been approved by the board, correct?
Approved by the state board. and
State board.
For your use.
Yeah.
And the
So
grant
do we
agreement.
need to approve it?
No. What the minutes of this meeting should note
That we reviewed.
is that the district board has reviewed the desktop procedures, and that's it.
Okay. So that's all I have to that, unless anybody else wants to talk about some aspect of it or whatever.
I'm fine. Let's move on then.
Let's move on. Okay, audit report was received. I'm shifting these in. I got all this stuff spread out on my table. It's a mess. So we did finally get the final audit statement. Essentially, and the wording is weird. I mean, just because it's audits wording, I'm thinking. That the financial statements are presented fairly. So, and my understanding via Kathy also is that they did not have any issues. They had appropriate representation of our statements, et cetera. So my understanding is that they were happy with it.
Yes, we didn't have any specific recommendations for Headwaters, but the general letter included what you just spoke about the sales tax, to use that exemption as much as possible. And then the second general comment was they found, they didn't say what district, but on BMP contracts, the page 3 is the part of the contract that is supposed to have the technician sign off on, as
Yeah.
well as the landowner. And some of those, they didn't have the signatures. We've been trying to get them on ours, but that was an issue they brought up.
That's right. Yeah, I remember. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So,
And
so that's good.
Wendy, while you're speaking about audits, the district did receive a letter from Christine Watlington recently in regards to the performance improvement plan that the board submitted last fall.
The PIP. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the PIP, and essentially the state board is satisfied with the district's response to that, to the request for a PIP, and so y'all are cleared on that. That's not a financial audit per se, but it's handled by the state board in a similar fashion. Just want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
Good.
Good job, Headwaters. Thank you.
Yeah, I think they've worked really hard at making improvements with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm done with the audit report. Y'all good with that?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then the operations, the grant agreements, Mark, since you're here, since I'm trying to find it, let me get to my stack again. So we have the administrative and operational support grant agreement, which is where we get what is allocated for us.
That's your operations and your operations and your dam maintenance.
Yes, so that has the 198,992 for operations and administration, and then the dam is the 33,000.
Right.
So that's what we're given.
Same as last year.
Okay.
Now the terms of the grant agreement have changed slightly in terms of deliverables. A couple have been taken out.
Okay, you want to, off the top of your head or looking at it?
The reference to directors and COIA has been removed. And then the requirement or the expectation, the deliverable in regards to director attendance at the annual meeting of the association and the area spring meeting has been removed.
And is that partly due to the COVID?
No.
No.
No, the requirement for director COIA training is something that our agency does not feel is a burden for us to monitor. It is a state code requirement to be handled through your local government body's clerk. So
Mark, does that mean we don't have to take the training every 2 years?
no, the requirement is a code requirement.
That's what I thought.
It's just that in the grant agreement with my agency, we're not going to monitor it. Code requires that to be reported by the clerk of the locality.
Right.
Not the clerk of court, but the clerk of the locality. So the state board has agreed to set that deliverable aside, delete it. And insofar as the deliverable that's been long-standing, that district directors participate in association meetings, I would say that the state board declined to include that this year because that is an association/district matter. And we're not going to predicate our state funding upon director attendance at association meetings.
Okay. And then of course there's the cost share and technical assistance grant is the other piece of these two. as far as the grant agreements. Mark, you wanna?
Well, Wendy, the attachment C is what I'm looking at right now, and I would suggest that directors at the very least
I see.
take a look at attachment C.
Yes.
And you've got it up there. I think it's an easy way to look at the list of deliverables, and then at the methodology the state board has provided CDCs to use in rating a district's performance. There are 15 items in attachment C for the cost share and technical assistance grant. There were 13 last year, so 2 have been added. A new one is item number 2. If you want to scroll back up. And we're getting rather particular about engineering job approval authority, admin reviews, bid process. The bid process was described to your staff in the VAX update webinar last week. So there's some changes there. And so here we have a new deliverable. The other new deliverable is item 6. Data entry into tracking in a timely, accurate fashion, etc. I mean, to me, it's not a big deal, but I just want to alert you that that's a yes or no. And I guess the way I'll judge that is when I get quarterly reports and I'm matching up the attachment E with tracking. If there are discrepancies due to staff not keeping or maintaining tracking, then we got a problem. And again, it's a yes or no. So for what it's worth, there are 2 new deliverables. Everything else I believe is identical to the letter. But again, directors, that's a attachment C in both grant agreements is a real quick and easy way to see how your district will be rated next summer.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions regarding this? Again, when we covered the budget, as far as we mentioned the amount, the full amount, as far as that's what should we say, available to us, we're gonna go at slightly lesser amount of that as far as putting in the budget to try to be on the safe side. So, okay. All righty.
Are you all going to consider approving the 2 grant agreements at this meeting, or are you going to wait?
I guess we should.
It's your choice.
Well, we might as well.
We have asked for those signed grant agreements to be sent to your CDC by, I think, the 17th of July.
Okay. Well, then we ought to do it now because we won't be able to do it before the next meeting's after that, so.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve the both of the grant agreements, cost share and technical assistance, and the administrative and operational support.
Second.
Okay, need a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, ready to vote. Darren,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
DeBose,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
and Otis.
Yes.
All right, motion approved. Thank you.
And fantastic. Kathy, if you can get a signature from a director on each of those 2 grant agreements and then pop them in the mail to me, I would appreciate it.
Kathy, I can sign whatever. come by. Come by when you're there tomorrow, if you're gonna be there tomorrow.
And then a scanned copy goes to me and to Blair.
I'm sorry, I had myself muted. Yes, that'll be fine.
Okay.
All right, that's all
right.
I have as far as the finance legislative.
Okay, you want to hit personnel now?
Sure.
Okay.
As we all know, we have Kathy's job that's been posted. We had the cutoff for applications June 8th. We had it posted several different places, some right toward the end, just because we wanted to try to get as many applicants as possible. And we truly did get quite a range of applications. So I looked at it, Kathy looked at it, and John looked at it, sort of to do an initial. We got at least, what, Kathy, at least 35 or so?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
To sort of just screen out ones that we really felt like, no, you know, that there's nowhere close. Nice try, but nowhere close. And then we kind of, by ranking them, or at least listing our top ones, we've come to, I think there's 5 that we all kind of picked to then move and go ahead and, rather than inundate the personnel committee with all of them, to shunt them out to the personnel committee. So I think everybody's probably received that as far as personnel committee, at least electronically. Otis, did you? Nothing? Okay.
I have not received anything yet.
Okay.
I
Except
mailed out the packets, I think it was yesterday morning.
Okay. So then you should, depend on, I don't know where you live, Otis, but maybe by tomorrow. Of course, it's a month away as far as what Kathy's telling us will be her last day in office. And so we will need to start interviewing as quickly as possible. So when you do get the information, look at it. I don't know if we should go ahead and tell Kathy to try to work with us first and see what works best as far as all of us to be able to get on a Zoom conference with them. There's also, Kathy, I think, included a list of some questions. And I've gotten some additional questions, actually, that could be applicable. I'll try to look at them today and send them out if anything could be tweaked a little bit from Megan Dalton, just from some of the jobs they've interviewed for recently or within the past, say, year, for interview questions. And then we ought to try to get, we have to get someone, we have to start interviewing these people as quickly as possible. The trouble is we have, I have constraints on Thursdays and Fridays, as far as doing it. I don't know if, well, anyway, we'll have to figure out how we're going to do it, but that's where we stand with that.
Wendy, do they have a strong financial background?
Most of them have, let's say, a good accounting background. Most of them, as far as QuickBooks, it varies maybe a little bit as far as, you know, there's nothing that you look at and go, aha.
Okay.
So it's going to be, you know, looking at what sort of credentials they have, and in talking with them, just if you have someone that's sharp, that,
right,
and of course,
they can pick it up.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to Zoom interviews. So maybe even the last interview or something like that, we can figure out some way to where we can do that in person. If we narrow it down to say 2 or 3.
Right.
So, Otis?
I'm almost to the point to the 5 that you guys picked out, looking at the score sheets, at the scores that they got. Let's go ahead and schedule them instead of waiting for everybody to see the total, the whole resume. And the other thing is, we can find a room somewhere, even maybe in the county building, big enough where we can accommodate social distancing and interview the people in person.
Yeah, if they will let us in, that's great. Someone also actually suggested and I think there are picnic tables there down at the far end of the government building, you know, where they have, or used to have on Wednesday afternoons, the farmer's market.
Yeah.
Just then outside seating, you know, because one of the things is depending on where the building is, how they are as far as letting people in, stuff like that. You know, I don't know. Cleaning up after people come in, people go out. As long as they're letting people in to some degree, you know, they're going to have some sort of cleaning policy before and after, you know, folks. But yes, I would, if there's any way in the world that we can do it in person, I'm all for that. I think to me, I just get a better sense of a person.
Absolutely, yeah.
Personally.
If you can do it outside at where the farmer's market was,
exactly.
Which like me, that would be a good alternative.
Yes. Yeah, even if it's raining, we're covered.
Right.
So I'm all for that.
And the weather's warm enough, so.
Yeah.
At least it will be in a few days.
Right. And so in interviewing, if we stick to, you know, a certain set of questions so that we can evaluate each of the candidates against those questions and therefore fairly and reasonably against each other, you know, that is helpful too. So
I'm sorry.
I'm done.
Are we going to do the 5 by Zoom and then narrow it down to 2 or 3, or are we going to interview all 5 live interviews?
I'd suggest you do all 5 live interviews.
I agree.
I think it's a much better process. It's like Wendy, you get a better feel one-on-one.
Yeah, I would prefer that.
Me too.
What's going to be, this is Michael, what's going to be the plan moving forward with, since she's going to be leaving as well, that leaves us down to 2 BMP technicians. So I'm just curious what the plan is there.
The plan in general? So yeah, the big concern for me, the big concern is that, let's say we got someone hired or agreed upon next week. If they can't get right on board, which is going to be usually the case. I mean, you know, usually if they're already doing something, there's the 2 weeks notice. And so that's the time that Kathy's leaving. I mean, there's going to be hardly any overlap, which really does concern me. In speaking, I will say that I did a phone call to Megan Dalton because I was panicking. And she suggested too that, you know, of course she felt like it takes months, and I would agree, it takes months to get a handle on this. So even if we had a couple of weeks, it's not going to be nearly enough. And she was saying if there were a district or 2 or something that we maybe wanted to have whoever comes in work with, that you know, that would be a possible way forward. Just you know, to do some training essentially with them, because there won't be enough overlap time as far as with Kathy for training for halfway decent. And then we'll have our next monthly meeting where this person will be walking in and they have never been to a monthly meeting, and it may be on Zoom, and it's just kind of like, oh my gosh. So
what have I got myself into?
Yeah.
One thought on the interviews, it may be we have to do Zoom if it's out of state or out of the area.
I think they're all in the area, so.
Okay, you hadn't said that.
I believe so. I'd have to go back. There was only like one that I kind of recall that they were saying they were moving to the area, or maybe just moved to, I don't know. So.
All right, that takes care of that problem.
I believe so. So if we can line that up, if we can't do one quickly with one of them, maybe do it Zoom. But I would prefer I mean, for that person, you know, it's a kind of a loss to them and us as far as being able to get a feel for them. But I would, and I don't know how long we should allot, 20, 30 minutes each. If we could do them not quite back to back, if we could do them all in one day, I don't know. So, and it depends on them and it depends on our schedules. So I say we.
Actually, with 5, we can do it all in one day. We've done it in the past.
Yeah, we could. I mean,
allow for about an hour each.
To me, that seems like a long time, but okay. Yeah, allow. We can always go walk around the block or something if we have extra time. Oh, we can talk about them after, in between.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess Kathy, we should.
But does that answer Michael's question?
No, not really.
No.
So Michael, as far as how we're going to handle all this, is it? Ask me the question.
I was thinking more in terms of the workload for the remaining BMP technicians. I mean, obviously there's going to be a shortage with that, but I'm assuming the long-term plan is to rehire 2 more replacements, or I'm just curious.
Yeah, that is the other issue. So we have Josh who's leaving. So we'll put Kathy aside for a second. We have Josh, so they're already down to just Aaron and Michael and Rachel.
Maybe
so,
John
and John, yes, and John.
Well, maybe John can jump in and talk a little bit about when we should get.
But I'm thinking we need to we need to get the job a job posting out there for, be it Josh's position, or if we need to look at, I asked Josh to just ensure as far as a general job description. He sent me that, you know, if we need to tweak that, if we need to make it a little more encompassing or whatever, and I guess that would be up to discussion with the staff and as far as what they want. We have to have one additional person. The second person, we were kind of waiting and thinking in terms of, well, we don't know. I think we put in about a half a year's worth of pay for a second.
We waited on Jason's replacement. Was, hey, if we got a replacement, especially during the early part of this COVID thing, that he'd be sitting at home basically doing nothing.
Yeah.
Not being able to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not very good interaction with others. So, yeah. Is John on?
He's muted.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm here.
You're there.
Okay, all right. I had prepared an updated job description after Jason left because I thought we were going to rehire at the time. So there should be one that just needs to be tweaked a little bit. We can probably get a turnaround on that and the announcement and all within the week so that it can go out. But I do think that I would like for there to be a Zoom meeting of the personnel committee to discuss actually options here. I'd like for there to be an exit interview with Josh as soon as possible, then a Zoom meeting to see about options for the district, and maybe time that we restructure some things. Perhaps we need to go to a district manager type thing rather than having a supervisor mentor type role for techs and a mentorship supervisor role for the administration type thing. There's options of trying to outsource some things. There are options of whether if we're going to follow the same path Are we going to get specialized employees or people that are capable of being well-rounded, you know, doing the field work and the outreach and the computer skills, or start finding somebody that's just going to do outreach, some things like that. So there's some things that need to be discussed. While we have 2 vacancies here, I think it's time to discuss, you know, whether we need to restructure the entire district, positions type that we have, and try to look forward a little bit and try to kind of look back at what's happening before we just jump in. But as far as getting that position announced, we can do it pretty quickly. The description was already updated if that's the direction we want to go.
It might be wise to get with Mark and see what other districts do as far as office managers and district managers, and see how different ones. I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but he could probably do that pretty quickly and see how they've worked.
Well,
Mark, are you on?
he said, forget it.
Yeah. I'd be glad to work with John and your personnel committee in this regard. The association, of course, is a good resource. But yeah, districts, they're all over the board.
Well, it'd be nice to know which ones worked and which ones had second thoughts, if it could be done quickly.
Well, you probably need to get a warm body in there for Josh and Jason.
Right.
Well, I like John's approach. Let's go ahead. We'll plan on, I mean, we can do by phone right away and then set a Zoom up to reflect on what everybody's inputted. But let's get information to John right now.
Okay.
And I think certainly move forward with posting for one of the replacements, anticipating a more normal schedule in August, September, that kind of stuff.
But the
Any more?
district directors and specifically the personnel committee need to do some serious introspection as to why there's been such turnover. And so those exit interviews might play a crucial role in that. You know, if money's not the issue, then maybe it's the atmospherics and the lines of authority within the district. Maybe talk to the people that are on staff and find out what it is that they would appreciate. There's so many reasons why somebody moves on or somebody stays. So the turnover has been a real problem for Headwaters lately. And there's no reason to expect that to change unless some actions or some response on the part of the district directors sets up a different environment.
We've tried to
keep trying.
We've tried to do that with some financial incentives the last couple of years.
Right, and that's been wonderful, but
Right.
may not be the only answer.
No.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
And so we do have the, of course, the employee evaluations, which John has put out the forms for staff to complete, and then they'll go through the initial employee evaluations, I guess, and then I think in the past that they've also, or Brenda's been because of personnel meeting also. As far as, that's another way sometimes to get some feedback.
absolutely.
So, and of course, that's got to be done this month.
That's correct. That's an FY20
Yes.
deliverable. Yes.
I remember. So, which also, was going to feed into the merit pool consideration. So, they're coming up. They're, you know, because we are practically almost at the end of the month, so we do need to decide.
Have we ever done a survey with the employees that are there and asking improvements or suggestions or anything like that? When we do an exit interview, it's kind of late.
I think there's actually space in the, I think on the annual evaluation sort of thing, correct me staff, where at least doesn't it ask for if there are things that can be improved or
Okay.
thoughts?
I haven't seen the form.
No, there really isn't,
There isn't?
a questionnaire for specific improvements. I think there's just general comments, but
Okay.
since I've been there, we haven't had an actual questionnaire where you can put down what you think might be helpful or that type of stuff.
And is that easier to do anonymously? I mean, just in general, or is this, you know?
Didn't last June we tried something anonymously? I can't remember. I just remember we filled out a piece of paper and then we had to stick them. Josh made them like an anonymous box or something that we had to stick them in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
we did. We did, but I don't recall.
I don't remember what
hearing
was
any
on
more.
the sheet.
Yeah.
what can I just share? It can be really intimidating to tell your job what you think of them. And I just want to share something that happened to my brother-in-law, who I've been spending a lot more time with. And see, this was last year, around the time we had evaluations here, and he was talking to them about reasons why they have so much turnover and what he would need to stay there and so forth. And instead of taking what he said and acting on it, they were just like, if you don't want to work here, then just don't.
Defensive.
So what I took out of that was that you can't take the risk of telling people how you feel because it's only going to get you in trouble. And Rachel and Michael and Kathy can confirm this. After Jason left, we had a little sit down with Brenda, and she just wasn't very receptive to our concerns at that time. So it can be really intimidating. And I think that's just, something we ought to work on.
Okay.
Maybe you can figure out a way to do it anonymously, and I understand your concern and I don't want that to happen. But we need to be as receptive as we can to problems within our organization.
I agree, because if things don't get voiced because you're afraid of how it's going to be received, you can't get
correct it.
Point A to point B. Yeah. So we need to figure out a way to do that where y'all can.
Can I throw in a suggestion?
Yeah.
Okay. At work, at my full-time gig, we use a program called SurveyMonkey. So that way, if people don't want to do stuff in handwriting, so like you can't see,
yeah,
you can't determine by people's handwriting who wrote what or whatever else, that's a route we could go to. I mean, we've used that. We've had probably 80% feedback out of 105 employees.
Yeah, I've heard that that's actually an easy survey system to use. I mean,
I've used it for other work purposes besides this, and it works really well.
Yeah, okay.
Darren, what was it called again?
It's called SurveyMonkey. And it doesn't cost anything to run. We do it probably at least once every year and a half or so, and we've had good feedback on it and everything else.
SurveyMonkey. Okay.
So I guess in connection with evaluations, in connection with the job description or what that we're going to, the job or jobs that we will need, I guess we ought to be committed to trying to put something that can be somewhat extensive, and give us information that's really useful and helpful within the next, I mean, really within the next week, if at all possible.
So as far as evaluations, I mean, in the past before COVID, we just met one-on-one with the directors. Are we still gonna, are we gonna try to do like a Zoom meeting type deal, or are we still gonna try to do in person? I mean, obviously it's kind of hard to right now, but what is the plan as far as that meeting with staff? Gonna be just Zoom meeting, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, we can do it Zoom meeting if that's preferred, or if it's easier, or and I'm trying. It seems like it just seems like last year, even being on the personnel committee, I don't think I was. I'm trying to remember if I was actually in any of the. Maybe we were, as far as conversation. As far as how y'all went about that, as far as if you did, you'd written up your thing. I think John had a chance to review it. If he reviewed it with y'all and the personnel committee at the same time, or and then maybe the committee or Brenda or someone lingered behind afterwards in case you had anything additional you wanted to say. So I can't recall, and having the one experience, so I'm not sure how we handle that. Kathy, John?
Normally we meet and go over the evaluations. I guess y'all hear me. Am I unmuted now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we go over the evaluations, and then I leave the room so that they can talk candidly. As far as the survey last year, Aaron had said earlier last year that it was too late to be having exit interviews. And so I came up with a survey, and I remember they were supposed to be put in a box or an envelope or something, and then they were supposed to be sent to some director on the personnel committee. I never got any feedback from them. Never saw them and never got any feedback from them, and I never got any feedback from the exit interview with Jason.
Yeah, and
I don't know if you do a survey this time, there ought to be some feedback come back from it.
did y'all hold one with Kayla? Because I think she has a lot of really valuable insight to contribute. So you may want to call her. I mean, she was a very organized person. She was very perceptive. And just in the short time that I worked with her, she helped me to work through my job more efficiently. So that might be somebody you want to talk to.
Yeah, I think those went to Brenda, but I'm not 100% sure, the questionnaires that we filled out, but I don't recall hearing anything out of those.
The Survey Monkey is a good idea because I have very distinctive handwriting, and if I write something by hand, you're going to know,
Everybody write with your left hand. Yeah, I agree.
I lost the end of this finger, and then I broke this one, and so my handwriting is just really horrible.
Okay. Well, I can check with Brenda over the next couple days, assuming she's around, and try to follow up on that, just because it would be good. So I don't, I'm not sure exactly what our path forward is precisely, step by step, in the next week or two.
I would suggest, this is Judy, I would suggest that we have the Zoom call of the personnel committee that John has suggested.
Okay.
As soon as possible, and work through these issues, and then we'll have a plan.
Okay, good idea.
Wendy, this is
Yeah,
Bobby. I'd like to be involved in that as well. I think I would offer a unique perspective on that, being that I've left the district before, years ago, but and I have a personal relationship with most of the employees, so I think I would offer a unique perspective there.
That's fine with me. Yeah, I think that'd help.
When we sent out the assignments, I asked to be put on the personnel and the finance committee and the dam committee, but I haven't gotten anything from the personnel. So I'm assuming I wasn't put on it or haven't been put on it. Or...
You're listed on it, DeBose. So as far as
Okay.
like you should be getting a mailing then as far as, the people for Kathy, and we'll just make sure you're on that.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, I sent you one.
Oh, okay. I haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other things before we at least pause it for now with this?
Are we waiting then till the committee has their Zoom meeting and then set up the evaluations and the interviews, or should I go ahead and start trying to narrow down some dates?
Well, I mean, depending on how quickly we can do the Zoom meeting, we could maybe talk about who's available, when we're available and stuff.
Okay.
So
This is Judy. I would suggest you do the both at the same time because it's two different things. And it's going to take a while to get a date that will meet both the personnel committee or whoever's going to do the interviewing and the clients. And I would work on that.
okay.
Just go ahead and start doing that. I think the Zoom meeting of the personnel committee is about the current vacancies, not Kathy's. That's settled.
Right.
And so the decision around that, and John has some things he wants to mention and talk about relative to personnel. And then, of course, Aaron has brought us some things. I think that's a part of the Zoom meeting, but not Kathy's piece.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, and the only input I'd have is get this thing rolling. Is maybe
Yes.
we need the comments from the example Survey Monkey to go to a third-party HR oriented that has no connection, so they could give an unbiased, this is what I see, to the committee.
I've done Survey Monkey before. A lot of organizations use it, so it's relatively easy to do. And that can be done really quickly too. But we can talk about that at the Zoom meeting of the personnel committee.
Right.
So go ahead and have Kathy start setting up.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Find a date for us and for the clients that work.
Yeah.
Or the potential applicants.
Okay. All right, Kathy.
Okie dokie, thanks.
You don't leave till we get someone.
Okay.
All right.
Rick, probably your highest priority as a district is to get Kathy's replacement on board and to deliver employee evaluations to each employee before the June 30th so you can meet your grant deliverables. Those are really crucial. Particularly, you want to meet your grant deliverable of employee evaluations on an annual basis.
Yep.
Right.
The bigger picture about any kind of structural change that might deal with employee turnover, that's critical too, but you've got some time to work on that. As far as developing an employee survey through Survey Monkey or whatever. But it is employee evaluations and getting Kathy's replacement on board before July 15, if at all possible. And that's going to be a reach. That's just my 2 cents.
It is.
Okay. Have you finished, Wendy?
I'm more than done.
You're done?
I'm done.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on.
The agenda has personnel policy review for under
Okay.
personnel.
Personnel policy, was that included in packet, Kathy?
Well, I didn't print it and send it, but I did send it electronically to the directors and the committee members.
Let me see.
That's an annual review item in the grant.
So yes, it has been sent out.
Yeah, okay.
I got it.
Me too.
Yeah, I know, I've gone over it.
Yeah. Well then, do we need to go through those point by point or?
No.
Okay.
No.
To
Unless
just,
somebody has some changes to suggest, I cannot make a motion as associate director, but I suggest somebody make a motion to accept it. Unless somebody has suggestions for changes.
Make the motion that we approve the personnel policy handbook as sent out by Kathy.
I'll second
Including
that.
job descriptions.
Job descriptions also.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, any comments? Are we ready to vote? All right, Darren,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
DeBose,
Yes.
Wendy,
yes.
Otis.
Yes.
All right, it stands approved. Are we finished with that section then?
Yes.
Yes. All right, let's move on to education. Is Jim on board?
I am.
Hey, Jim.
How
There
y'all
we go,
doing?
buddy.
I don't want to mention it, Rick, but you're listed as Sue on the display.
That's okay.
Just saying. Your boy named Sue now? Anyway,
I thought
well,
that was an undercover name.
yeah, we'll try to move you along here. We did have a poster contest. I understand we got two submissions, and in lieu of the new normal and date transfer and so forth, I guess, Rachel, we declared them both winners, and we'll provide them with a pollinator booklet and maybe some other things that we have to promote soil and water conservation.
Yep, both are going to get well, one's a kindergartner, so she's getting a picture book on bees. And then we had a 5th grader who's getting a book about pollinators, excuse me. So.
Okay. And the underground classroom update, pretty well self-explanatory in the agenda update. I guess we've had a number of new sponsors and consequently developing a new wrap for the trailer that will display sponsorship of the folks that have contributed since the trailer was originally wrapped. And that's on order, I understand, and it'll be a 4 to 6 week delivery.
Yes, we had received the proof, and I had Dominion approved it and Augusta Petroleum, and I believe I also emailed DeBose, but I hadn't heard back, but we double checked that his name was spelled correctly. And they have received it, so now we're looking at 4 to 6 weeks. At this point, it could be 3 to 5 weeks, because that was last week
Okay.
when they'll have it finished.
Have we ordered a cover for the trailer?
As far as I know, they were in discussions with Michael, and I think every time Michael asked for something, they kept being delayed at getting back to him. So that's all that I know on that subject.
Because the hot weather's, hot sun.
Cooking it.
Well, they provided me with some numbers, and last time we talked about this, it was you could get 2 different types of covers. One was an RV cover, so it would not be an exact fit, and then you could custom order a cover, and it was about $700 plus $100 for shipping. Just a regular RV cover is around $400 to $500 with $100 shipping. So Just really comes down to what y'all prefer, but one of them will be an exact fit, and the other one you will have excess, to tie down or whatever it might be. But just let me know what y'all would prefer, and we can get it ordered. So
I don't have a preference other than the fact that if it's $400 or $500, you could use bungee cords to tie down the excess. But I think we need to make a decision pretty soon because it's, as Otis says, it's going to get hot and you're going to start cooking it.
Is that trailer of such odd dimensions that there's not a standard cover for it?
Yeah, it was a custom ordered trailer.
yeah, I gave them the blueprints of it, and that's what they used to get the dimensions for the custom. But they don't make standard covers for those V-nose.
Well, I guess what's the board's pleasure for?
That's right. What's the board's pleasure here?
I don't care one way or the other. I just think we may need to make a decision.
Yeah,
Get out of the way.
Well, it looks like the storage shed is a ways off. I'd say go ahead and spend the extra couple of $100 and get the custom fitted one, and let's move on.
I'll second that.
Right. Motion and second. Need discussion. More discussion. All right. Prepare to vote. Otis.
Yes.
Wendy.
Yeah. Yes.
DeBose.
Yes.
Bobby.
Yes.
And Darren.
Yes.
Okay, then it's approved. Get the
Thank you.
custom orders, Michael.
All right,
Thank you.
and yes, sir. And the county has also offered to lend us one of the bays, I believe, where the tractor's currently parked. So we'll probably be using that as well, but we still want to get a cover for it because there's a lot of birds.
Yeah, the birds will do a number on it if it's not covered.
Birds.
So I'll get that ordered and let everybody know once that's been placed.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you're also going to run the truck at least
Yeah.
once a week to keep the battery up.
Yeah, so the battery was completely dead. I mean, it's set for several months.
It's been sitting since November.
We spoke with John, and we have basically we're going to use the truck, but we're not going to take it, out in the field or get it dirty. But we do need to start using it.
Yeah, that's
we
good.
just got to take care of it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Right.
What's next?
The intern program is a new item that was added. Rachel, what do you have for us on that?
Real quick though, with the fairs, Augusta County, if you have not heard, is officially a go as of now for unless we do not enter phase 3. For the governor does not let us enter phase 3 by that date. But the executive director for Augusta County Fair said they are definitely a go. It's going to look very differently. They're not letting as many exhibitors in the exhibit hall, so to speak, but that is definitely a go. So we will definitely be there as long as state lets us have it. And then I have not heard anything from Rockingham County. They have received the contract form for us to be there. Nothing else has come about that.
Okay, so 2 contract forms went out, and we did get it signed back from Augusta County?
Yeah, we are good to go for Augusta County.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as the intern program update, I believe discussions for that came out of the cost share committee meeting. I was not actually present at that virtual meeting. Those that were can chime in on how that discussion came to be, but it was looking, I believe, at more outreach perspective for an intern. I know John and Buzz were kind of the main, and I think also Bobby Whitescarver was in discussions on that as well. So I don't know if John wants to say how that discussion came to be at the cost share committee meeting.
I can chime in if y'all can hear me. Am I unmuted?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, and my volume is on its maximum, so you may speak up just a little bit.
Okay. I don't have anything to adjust it here. So the committee discussed internships, and Buzz suggested that we get with some of the colleges and talk to some of the instructors, and he has talked to at least the one at Mary Baldwin concerning an internship and how they would operate. The issue that we have now, and one of the things that drove this was not just the intern that we had this spring, but it was also a question by Brenda if we had something available for a Virginia Tech student of a friend that she knew that was looking for something. But we decided that with the virus and all the unknowns, there was no way that we could actually offer anything this summer. We don't know our schedules, much less how we would be able to offer any education to somebody when you can't actually be next to them to show them how to operate things and how to do things. So we decided it would be fall. But we need to have a formal, I think Rachel wants to have some type of formal process, and not just because somebody wants something, then we might accept it, but have people actually compete for the internship or apply for it and some things of that nature. But it hasn't really gone very far yet. And in light of where we are right now with remote working again, and we'll have to backtrack and just go to one person in the office here for a little while. It's not on the front burner right now.
Yeah, that would be a really tough program to pull off if everybody's remote and no contact, just like new hires. All right, so that'll be a item to be dealt with down the road.
Yeah, I commend you all for wanting to keep it going. I think it's a great idea to keep, it's a great outreach tool in itself, to keep an intern program going. I think there was just some discussions amongst which are we targeting a specific type of intern for specific projects, looking for an all-encompassing intern. But yeah, like John said, we're getting more requests for interns at this point now that we've had one. So definitely looking at a way we might have to start almost, making it an advertised position where students have to apply instead of just accepting the first one that jumps on board.
Okay.
Rachel, I know you don't have any.
I'm sorry. Talk.
Rachel, I know you don't have any spare time, but sometime it would be nice maybe to do an outline of what you would propose.
That has actually already been sent back before we had our first intern on board, but I'll resend it definitely to the personnel committee. If you want to, when you have your Zoom meeting, I know you already have a lot to discuss personnel committee wise, but that could be another meeting down the road to look at those items. No problem.
And finally, just a note, we did get a nice letter, I understand, from our scholarship recipient, Sam Halachek, and well done.
Yeah, he said
I have
his thank yous.
12 o'clock, so I'll be leaving the meeting. I'm sorry.
I said he did send his thank yous. It's also virtual FFA convention week. So he is virtually at FFA convention. But
okay.
He did get an invite to this meeting, so.
Okay. I have another commitment at 12, so I'll be signing off now. And good luck all, and thanks for all you do. Rachel, I'll be in touch.
Sounds good, Jim. Thank you.
See you, Jim.
Bye-bye.
Okay, with that, Bobby, you want to get into call share?
Sure. So we did have a committee meeting on the 1st of June. We did not have a quorum there. We had a good discussion though. Was there anything that's not going to be on that we need to bring to this board for a vote that's not going to be under the approvals or the cost list or any of these other agenda items? Can somebody remind me, please?
Hey, Bobby.
Okay. Yeah.
Might bring up the manure injection grant at some point.
Let's go ahead and bring it up now, Josh. You want to tell about it?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
First, I want to say thank you to everyone for this opportunity. I'm sorry I have to leave, but I really appreciate the board's support throughout my couple years here and working with everyone. Rachel just brought up the manure injection grant. I spoke with John, Bobby, and Rick and Wendy about probably be better if I took this to Shenandoah Valley with me so Headwaters does not have the workload. It's something I'd like to complete, but I would need the board's approval to take that with me essentially and transfer all the funds to Shenandoah Valley. Included with that grant was $6,000 a year for my salary. It's not been part of our budget. So it's really not going to change what our budget looks like, but I would like to request that that is transferred.
And just to clear that up, that our farmers will still be eligible for this grant, Augusta County farmers. So I just want to make
It'll
that
still
clear.
serve all of Chesapeake Bay.
Correct.
Okay, the floor is open.
I'd like to comment a little bit. Any grant, most of the work is getting it up and running and trying to get that these first few months going. And we've already incurred some of that expense. I realized it wasn't put into the budget for this year because we didn't have the money yet, but we've already incurred expense for mileage, expense for time, salary, expense for outreach, travel to promote it. I don't think it's fair for all of the Sally and friends to go with the grant since we've already incurred, part of that.
How much of that have we incurred, John, or what is your suggestion of the 6,000?
Well, it's
I mean, you work with him. I haven't worked with him, so I don't know.
Getting a grant going is the biggest part, and I think Josh was probably keeping his hours. I don't know whether he kept the mileage on the vehicle and things of that nature, but I feel like the biggest expense is up front, and then but it was $6,000 per year, but you've got part of that year left because you got the fall. I think you have the fall injection to go into this year, but certainly the biggest part of the first year should be left with us to cover the expenses that we encumbered or that the district encumbered, and then the rest of it go on if the folks that gave the grant allow it to be transferred. Then let the rest of all that go along with the grant.
Can the project be prorated from the standpoint of what has been used now here plus what is yet to be used, and that go on to Shenandoah Valley?
Can I speak?
Go ahead.
Yes.
I did track all my hours and all my mileage with this. If it's a big deal, we can pull that out. I don't think it's going to be significant. This would be post grant approval. Tracked everything. I don't think you're talking about much money, but that's I can do that.
John, can our staff handle the extra workload, knowing that we're going to be down a few people anyway?
If the I keep trying to say trustees, but the trustees are at the DuPont. I don't know what you call the people that oversee this particular grant, but if they were not to allow it to go to Shenandoah Valley, we'll make the grant successful here. We just got to get somebody on board quickly, but we'll make the grant successful here, I'll have to handle it, or we'll make it successful here.
Do we
It
have
would
to
be
get somebody's approval to move it
Follow
to?
with Josh, because Josh is the one that was the impetus behind it. He was the impetus behind getting the BMP put into the state program. So I can see why he would want to follow it through. So I don't have a problem with it going with him. That's where it should go. But if they say that they're not going to transfer it, because I'm not even sure if we've gotten the money from the grants yet. They were trying to get to verify banking information last week. So, but if they decide that they don't want to transfer it to another district, we will make it successful here.
Who are they, John?
It's the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. Is that correct, Josh?
Yes, and I've got confirmation that it can easily be transferred with board approval.
Okay.
Okay, you can transfer it then.
I'm asking for a vote to approve
Right, yeah.
transfer.
All right.
If you want nickel and dime, we can pull out the few hours I have in mileage and take that out of the grant, and that's fine.
Josh,
Yes.
is Shenandoah Valley approved accepting it?
I think they have a board meeting later this week. They would have to approve that. I don't foresee that being an issue. I'm asking you to approve under the condition that it's approved by NIFWIF and Shenandoah Valley Conservation District.
Okay.
I personally feel that, of course, I don't know exactly how much time and effort went into this. There was a good bit, I'm sure, but as part of a position that as Soil and Water Conservation District, it helps all of us, not just this local one. Unless there was some extraordinary amount that really pulled him away from other stuff, and then you could, as far as the amount of money and funds that went into that, I personally don't see why it shouldn't just go ahead and be transferred. I mean, if there's really something that we are then at a loss of because of that, other than what we were expecting some funds from it or whatever, I think it should just go ahead and move with Josh. It will service our farmers, it will service their farmers, it will, as far as the whole end result. And unless there's all of a sudden some yanking of funds out of our budget that's going to hurt us, which I'm understanding there's not currently the way it's set up, then I think we should just approve to let it go with Josh.
Thank you, Wendy. Can I also note that when I did talk about manure injection or travel, it was also selling our cost share manure injection, which has given us a fair amount of cost share in this past year.
Y'all done a lot of discussion, but we don't have a motion on the floor, so let's do that.
I'll make the motion that we transfer the grant to Shenandoah Valley, assuming that NIFWIF and Shenandoah Valley accept that transfer.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Now, more discussion.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we ready to vote? We'll do it by roll call. Otis.
Yes.
Wendy.
Yes.
DeBose.
Yes.
Bobby.
Yes.
And Darren.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. It is going to make the shift with Josh in, as long as they approve too. All right, what's the next thing we need to talk about?
All right, next on the agenda is the approvals for BMPs.
Okay.
Make the motion, Bobby. I'll second it.
Okay, let's wait till they come up here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is just carryover right now.
Okay, we want to start with carryovers. Let's start with carryovers. This is the list of carryovers, and I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve these for carryover.
I'll second that.
Okay. Again, I got to do a vote. Darren,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
DeBose,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
and Otis.
Yes.
All right, carryovers approved.
All right. So a list of the approvals for this month for new projects, is that on this sheet as well?
There is just these 3 appeals that are highlighted in yellow, Bobby.
Just the 3 appeals.
Yes.
And I'm assuming this one of these appeals is for the rock issue that we discussed at the cost share committee.
Tex can chime in, but I think the last I heard from John was 2 you technically already conditionally approved, and 1 would be, we're just covering all the bases, and then 1 is a new appeal that has come in.
Yes.
Or any.
Bobby, the $11,000 one, that is the rock out on the TU Headwaters project.
Okay. So the cost share committee has discussed at least that appeal. And I'm assuming that the other ones are, there's no extenuating circumstances that we would have to discuss.
The one project is the addition of a backflow preventer to make it meet criteria.
That's right. Okay, we discussed that.
You know, the other one is the new one, and that's where we turned down crossing. It was not installed properly and forced the contractor to come back. He actually presented a bill, and we're going to try to work it in if they were under the original, but it's the situation is such that we feel like we need to try to come forward and pay for that. That's the full amount of the bill. Actually, that is a narrow buffer, so it doesn't get but 65% of that.
All right, thank you, John. So these were discussed by the cost share committee, and the recommendation was to approve these appeals. So I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve these appeals.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, are you ready to vote? All in favor, Otis,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
DeBose,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
and Darren.
Yes.
Okay, they're approved.
All right, moving on to secondary considerations. I believe there were no major changes to last year. Am I correct?
All I did is just change the wording in one because instead of referring to these guidance documents that DCR sends out by, you know, the one dated such and such, I just put the most recent guidance document. And that way, if they ever update it, we won't have to change this again.
Okay.
That's down. You have to scroll down to see that, though. Yeah, letter P.
Okay.
And that
All
way
right.
we don't have to constantly keep changing the list.
All right, thank you, Aaron. I'll make the motion that we approve these secondary considerations for fiscal year 21.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion and second. All those in favor, Otis,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
DeBose,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
and Darren.
Yes.
They're approved.
All right, so the new cost list for fiscal year 21. I believe we have increased across the board. Is that what we discussed there?
Well, you and I had discussed that, and then Josh and John and I talked about it, but then
Okay.
more changes were made after that conversation. So this looks like the most final one. And we can't base anything off bids. So we had to come up with numbers for that.
All right, well, thanks for laying this out. It's pretty clear to understand what the current cost is and what the proposed for 21 is. If anybody has any questions, I can answer them now, or Aaron can, or.
Well, I didn't. John is the one who did this. I haven't done anything with it for a couple of days.
Bobby?
Yes.
You know, at the committee meeting, I discussed the possibility of some of these categories being based on 3 bids. And that was a definite no from Mark, and then confirmed by David Bryan. So we took the best information I had, and I split up that category of animal waste, the liquid animal waste, into 2 different sizes. And then when I sent the original draft out, I asked for some comments. Josh raised the issue that posts are now in short supply. Some of the contractors are waiting for them, and he didn't know what effect that would have on the price. So what I did was went down through there and basically raised every fence price by 10 cents. So if you multiply that by a 16-foot post spacing, you're allowing an extra $1.60 a post to cover that cost. So I feel like it kind of covers that. And then there were some other little things that I made sure was raised a little bit, because I think we're falling short on our heavy use area, some concrete and things like that, based on the bills that I've done here lately. I made those suggestions and sent it out, and then I didn't get any comments back. If we see something here, we're going to have several projects come up, so we could, before we approve any projects in July, make any revisions that need to be made, but I believe it's in pretty good shape right now.
Rachel, could you scroll up to the animal waste again?
Sure.
So a concrete pit greater than 120 feet diameter goes from $2 to 80 cents a cubic foot.
Yes, I took the cost of the largest structure that we've ever put in, which was the one that we just put in for, well, I guess we're not supposed to use names, are we? But anyway, it was a 200-foot diameter. Because of the height of the wall and the diameter, it was actually a little thicker concrete. Had he gone the extra 2 feet, it would have been gone up another 2 inches in diameter. But because of the scale, I guess that's why it's cheaper. But
that's economy of scale.
What I did is I took the cost of the pit minus the excavation and divided it by the cubic footage of the structure.
Right.
And that's what it came up with. And then I tried to use some other criteria to come up with the cost there. So that's a really good estimate. But I think when the bids come in, we'll probably do an appeal on each one of them and actually go by the bids afterwards. But as you explained and David explained, we have to have something to prepare the initial estimate, knowing that, it may change.
Okay.
But that was the best that I could do. And because of what took place last week, with coronavirus and everything, there wasn't time to call 3 or 4 districts and compare it.
Any other questions for John on the cost list? I'll make the motion then that we approve the this new cost list for fiscal year 21.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second. Again, we'll do the roll call to be in favor. Otis,
Yes.
Wendy, hello, Wendy.
Wendy
Yes, sorry, I was
disappeared.
muted.
There she is.
Yes.
Okay, DeBose,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
and Darren.
Yes.
Okay, motion approved.
All right. DuPont has some extra funds, I guess, that they would like to disperse to us, assuming that we can use it. So anything else we need to talk about that? John or Josh, Aaron?
Is this just cost share or is it technical assistance as well?
I don't know.
We can always get together as staff and with Bobby and go over that in a little more detail.
Well, I mean, if it's going to be, technical assistance, then I have to know so I can possibly use it when I close out the books.
The offer was made with some of the ideas that they had. When on the conference call, Josh and I had some different ideas about how we could spend additional funds. We needed a little more flexibility than I think what they had initially thought about. They did mention something about some technical funds maybe coming out of it. But I don't know that we've actually heard back. They summarized everything we talked about, but I'm not sure we have confirmation that they've made a decision that they could give us the money with those flexibilities. But if Josh wants to chime in, maybe he heard something that I have not gotten copied on.
I would agree with that. I've not heard anything back as far as whether there would be TA. They did say potentially TA with it. I guess the selling point is if you can bring anything to 100% or higher, you'd be getting more cost share applicants potentially with your regular cost share TA.
Do we have personnel to do this work, John?
We did when we were on the conference call, and we will if we rehire quickly.
Okay. And we didn't spend some of the money last time. Are we going to be able to spend all this money this time?
The DuPont funds, I think, are all spoken for, aren't they, Josh?
They will be by the time it's over with.
Okay.
The trustees have been really good in understanding cost overruns and allowing money from canceled projects to be diverted to cover those. They've been very understanding and have been really working well to try to get these projects in. I think Josh would, believes the same thing. Even one of our clients wanted to thank them. So I think, from the standpoint, the projects that were canceled, some of that money went for cost overruns, and then some of it is obligated to some new projects. I think
all right.
Josh can speak to it more.
I think it's been a very successful program. So having said that, I'm going to make the motion that we approve accepting these new DuPont funds.
I'll second that.
Okay. Let's vote for Otis,
Yes.
Wendy, DeBose,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
and Darren.
Yes.
And if Wendy ever chimes in, we'll be good. It's
How much
approved.
money was it, John or Bobby?
They were talking about 400,000.
Okay.
Okay. Wendy, did you approve that motion?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. We got your vote. Thank you. All right, Bobby.
All right, outreach plan. I think the only thing that we didn't discuss earlier that we talked about at our cost share committee was holding a Zoom meeting for the general public on the fiscal year 21 program. Well, here we go. Here's a good outreach plan. Kathy, did we get a copy of this?
I don't know. I don't think so because I haven't seen it or I haven't read it.
I sent it
Okay.
out to the committee members last week.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And along with this is something that I'd asked Rachel to come up with, which was a digital outreach. It was something that had come up before. We were discussing this as staff before the committee started talking about it. And so she has ideas there on how to expand those skills that we have learned during the remote working and being unable to meet. And then also is our standard, which we already can use, the media release form. You need that in order to do a lot of the things that we want to do. And so that copy was also sent with the email.
Does this take board action, John?
I don't know if y'all want to have a approved outreach plan or it's just for your information. You can just use it for your information. I don't know that it needs to be formally approved because, we've lost another employee. So now some of that stuff is going to shift a little bit or be delayed some. Or you may get a employee that specializes in outreach. So I don't know, may speed up. Who knows? Everything's an unknown right now. Makes life exciting.
Let's just email it out to all the directors, John, and just have it for informational purposes. If that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Okay. Last thing, cost share and technical assistance grant agreement. I'm unsure what that's talking about.
Isn't that the same thing we approved earlier?
Yeah, you guys have already approved it.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Gotcha. That concludes the ag and cost share report.
Okay, Bobby, I want to back up just a little bit. When we were doing motions for carryover and appeals that were approved, were there any approvals that had to be done, just regular contract approvals, DMPs?
No, sir.
Okay, so we're good.
Yes, I believe so.
I mean, ordinarily, if you don't have tax credits and the BMPs were the other thing I just noticed.
Yeah, I guess because it's June and it's the last month of the program year, so I think staff's waiting on the new program year to approve any new projects.
Okay.
I had on my sheet in the mail, I had conservation plan, nutrient management plans, and tax credit certificates.
Now that may have been last month though, isn't it?
Yeah, that was
I'm sorry.
May.
I'm sorry, that was last month.
Yeah, that was May.
I'm not but a month
Well,
behind.
yeah, that's okay.
Rick,
But anyway,
Rick, you did remind me of something.
what's that?
All of the multi-year carryovers should be in what you just approved. There is a separate report that Mark led me to, and there was a report that Aaron sent me last week when I asked him to try to go into AdLogic to get it, the updated one, that has all multi-year specifically spelled out. They should all be in here. We should have all the 17, 18, and 19s in here. And I don't guess we have a copy of that particular one, but it does need to be signed. I don't know, just have a separate motion to cover all of the AdLogic report carryovers specific to multi-year, so that you can and do that just to cover us. I don't know if Mark wants to chime in or.
If you've got them all listed here, John, that works. I just do need the ad hoc logi report that you can print out, and you can cross-check it here.
Yeah.
But ad hoc logi is a system that is designed to provide you with a reporting mechanism, and the carryover report that you can print out from logi does have the signature line for a director.
Now,
I'm quite satisfied that y'all have made a motion
yeah,
to approve that list.
This
There
is
you
the
go.
one that printed out, and it didn't have any of the 2020 projects in it. That need.
Oh, now that's correct. That would be a different, in that some of those 2020s don't have a status of carryover, you aren't going to see them on that list.
Yeah.
So yes, once staff marks everything carryover, you can reprint that and get it signed.
Okay. All right.
That would be fine.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so, see, Mark, you're saying that you want us to, everything that's going to be carried over, you want us to change it in tracking to carryover.
Oh, that's right. It needs to have the status of carryover. I mean, you can do that first couple weeks of July, but that's part of your end of year reporting. But yeah, you can change your status anytime.
Okay.
I thought we
are
weren't
good
supposed to
then?
change them until after, after today.
That would be appropriate.
Okay, are we good?
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Thank you. Thank you, Bobby. Let's move on then. Matt's not here. DeBose, do you have urban conservation?
No, I don't have anything to report.
Okay. I haven't heard anything on either of the other three topics listed there. Any comments from anyone?
Before you move to other business, Rick, Dave with Friends of Middle River is on if you wanted to give him an opportunity to provide an update.
Well, I would love to give him an opportunity. Talk to us, Dave.
Maybe.
Dave, can you talk to us?
Well, I'm very ill prepared, so sorry about that because I didn't see you on the agenda. So I just kind of have to shoot from the hip. But as has been reiterated by your staff and throughout this meeting, the times are different, and so we're holding our meetings virtually. Where we did have a modified float trip where we practiced social distancing. We had people show up at allotted times, and only family members were allowed to share a watercraft, so to speak. So our activities have been scaled back greatly. Our normal activities, the events that we participate in throughout the year have virtually all been canceled up to this point. So I'm now looking at at what we're going to do for our annual Middle River cleanup, and I'm not sure what form that's going to take this year. I'm still batting that around my head. I would like to be able to do at least some kind of cleanup, but that's problematical because again, that's a joint effort, and I'm not sure how it's going to work out. And right now, it doesn't look real promising that we're going to get that things are going to change enough between now and August. August has traditionally been our cleanup month, and right now I have doubts that things are going to change much between now and then. So stay tuned. I should have more to say about that next month's meeting, but I'm going to do what we can for river cleanup because that's one of our signature activities, and I want to try to keep it going as best we can. But it may be scaled down from years past. That's pretty much all that I can think of right now to report on.
Okay, well, thank you, Dave. We appreciate your work, and keep us informed.
Will do.
Okay, the last business is strategic plan review. Where do we stand with that?
I'm going to have to send that out to everybody. I didn't have that file accessible to me here at home. So when I do get that file, I will send it out before the end of the month.
Okay, very good. Does anybody else have anything to bring forward to the meeting?
Yes, something came to mind here. With Josh's resignation, we now do not have but one person to resource the technical review committee. So what we should do is probably go ahead and appoint somebody that this meeting, if we can add it to the agenda legally. I don't know if Mark's still on there, but it wasn't posted. But as other business, if we could, I guess, point Aaron to the technical review committee to replace Josh.
I don't have a problem with that. Can we agree by concession?
Well, did you lose your quorum?
No, I still have a quorum.
Okay,
Do we need a quorum to make that change?
Yeah.
Does it have to be a formal vote?
Yes.
Okay.
By code, Virginia law.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Aaron to the technical review committee.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. All those in favor? Otis?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
DeBose?
Yes.
Bobby? Darren?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to approve the motion. That's a good idea. Now, ordinarily, don't we appoint like the executive committee to take care of any last minute things that may come up, and then the board take care of it at the next meeting?
Yes, that's a good idea.
Okay.
Good idea.
So if there's a motion, if the floor is open to that motion, if it is so.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other comments on that? Then we've got.
Do we name the people?
Executive committee.
Okay.
That would be, yeah, the four of us. Okay.
All right.
All right. All those in favor? Otis?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
DeBose?
Yes.
Bobby?
Bobby went to
Darren?
lunch.
Okay, Darren? All right, it's approved. If there's nothing else to bring forward, I had a note here that this is probably Kathy's last board meeting. Kathy, would you like to have the floor?
I really don't know what to say. I have been hoping that my work has been satisfactory and has helped to move our cause forward. Got a lot of mixed emotions, but I'm very much looking forward to retirement, and I hope to stay in contact with everyone. And I just really appreciate all the friendships that I've made over the years. And I'm going to miss everybody, but I'll still be around.
Yeah, I think if Wendy has her way, you're going to be real close for a while.
That's right. I'll
Wendy
be
has
on
her
her
way, you're not going to
doorstep.
retire for 3 months.
Paperwork
Well,
already in.
we're going to have another occasion when we can to thank you more properly. But thank you very much, Kathy.
Thank you, Whit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy. You've done wonderful.
Thank
Way to
you.
go.
Amen.
That
Way to
means a
go.
lot. It really does. Thank you.
All right. And with that, we'll consider the meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much. And let's continue on.
Okay,
Thank you very much. See you, everybody.